This is my Harley seal installer that I made. It installs that little seal there on your main transmission output shaft. All I did was I took an 1.25 inch socket. I bought at Harbor Freight. I went and I ground a hole out in the center to accept this bolt. And the inside you can see is exactly the same. I haven't done anything in there. I went and I took your clutch hub nut. Here it is right there, the one with the reverse threads that go on here. I took that, I welded it to the end of the nut, then I ground off a little bit on the end of the bolt there, you can see, to accept my 9/16 wrench so I can hold it still. And I'm putting the seal on. Then I went and I took these races, I went and I ground out the center just a little bit, just enough so it'll slide over the shaft nicely. And these are old used races that I have from other installs. So I normally go and I throw my seal on there, just slide it over. Then I slide this on, this other race on. And then I take 3 washers. There they are right there, you can see they're nice thick ones. And I bought them, they're standard issue size. And they slide over this shaft perfectly. It's like they were made for it. Then I take my bolt that I made, that I welded up. I thread that on there. I thread it all the way to the end normally, well close to the end. And I'm just showing you how to do this. Then I slide my socket on. I throw another washer on the end. Then my bolt, or my nut. Oh, darn thing just keeps getting cross-threaded. There we go. So I position everything so it's nice and center. And then I tighten this nut up and I hold this bolt with this wrench, and then I use my 1.1 wrench and I tighten this up, and it ends up pushing that seal in there. And what happens is, as you're going along, these races, they'll end up bottoming out just on the edge of that shaft there, and it'll end up pushing your seal into exactly where you want it. It actually works out rather good. And then you end up taking this tool off, because I use this tool once again for another install. I'll show you here. So I pull everything off. And I'll grab my new race, which is right here, my brand new one, because I got to put that on next. I'll go and I'll slide that up, and then I'll put everything back on again, and that tool will also push this race in to where it's got to go. So pretty cheap, cost me, man, I think it was like $5 to make it. And I also made a pulley shaft nut remover. Here it is right here. I can't remember the size of the socket, but I went and I cut the socket apart. You can see where I cut it there, and there's the top end of the socket. I went and I cut that off on the socket. Then I added a piece of pipe in between, welded it up. Let's see, everything's socket's perfect, and that's all I used to get the pulley nut off. And that thing there, it cost me $20. Gotta love Harbor Freight. Anyway, those are part of my tools. I have other ones. I build all mine. I like gym stuff, but man, you sure ask a lot of money for everything. So I try to make every tool I can. I'll show you a couple more here in a little while. My camera ended up going dead. But the only drawback to building a tool like this, you can build it whichever way you want, it was just convenient for me, is the travel for this tool is only about 1 inch. I can show you here with the tape measure. That's about how far the tool will travel. Let's see when I push that in there. It's totally bottomed out. So what I do is I push everything on to this shaft 1 inch at a time. So normally what I'll do is I'll push it on 1 inch, then I'll go grab some washers or another one of these, and I'll push it back on. But you only have to take the tool off once and put that extra spacer on. If not, the socket itself will actually bottom out right here. I'll kind of wreck those threads. So I just take it easy. I don't try to push anything too hard, and if I feel something that's not going on correctly, just pull it off and throw your spacer on, and you can continue on going. It's just a rather cheap way to do it. If you have any questions, throw them up. And that's pretty much about it. Oh, one thing that I should mention, the bolt that I used, it's actually a fine thread bolt, because I want it to go on there nice and smooth and kind of even. So I figured with the finer thread it'd work out a little bit better. Anyway, if you have any questions, throw them up. I'll be more than happy to answer them. It's important when doing this install that you make sure that you put the tapered end on this bushing. You can see it's tapered, and this little rubber O-ring goes on, and it actually goes on the shaft that way. A lot of people pull it apart and they can't remember which way it goes. And then of course your main seal, which is that one, goes on. But I just figured I'd show you that because a lot of people get that